This is almost 3 minutes long, but it kind of fills in a lot of a gap, and it's kind of storytelling, so to speak. I don't know exact words. It's a lot of dramatic things in it, but it gets to the heart of a lot of stuff.
Former President Donald Trump returned to Washington, this time under federal indictment for allegedly trying to steal an election. His motorcade going through the city that symbolizes American democracy, arriving for his third arraignment in less than 5 months. The courthouse just blocks away from where the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol unfolded.
So where Trump's appearance took place today is here at the D.C. District Court, and this is significant. Of course, there's a lot of symbolism because you could say that he's returning to the scene of the crime to plead not guilty to these 4 charges that he's facing for attempting to overturn the 2020 election.
We have seen former President Trump indicted on other charges before, but this one is super significant. It is indicting him for trying to basically overthrow the results of an election, and we have never seen an American president try to do that before.
Special counsel Jack Smith asserted that the former president was at the center of a criminal scheme built on lies that culminated in the violence that exploded at the Capitol on January 6th. Today, there were detractors and supporters outside the courthouse.
When he entered the courthouse, he went to get processed. There was no mugshot. He was fingerprinted and then entered the courtroom before a magistrate judge. He sat there for about 25 minutes. This is a man who doesn't wait for anything except for in a courtroom.
The former president pleaded not guilty to 4 felony counts, including conspiracy to defraud the United States.
It was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
Special counsel Jack Smith insists Trump knew he'd lost the election, but tried to overturn the results anyway, determined to remain in power, claiming that he spread lies about fraud, though he knew they were false.
This is not just the most significant indictment to date against Donald Trump. It's one of the most significant indictments from the Department of Justice, maybe ever.
As the charges were read today in the same courthouse where many of the Watergate cases were tried, Trump sat flanked by his lawyers. Special counsel Jack Smith was there in the room looking on at the man he indicted.
You could almost hear a pin drop when he was in there. We were looking over at Trump, looking over at Jack Smith. Trump always wants to know who's in the room. He was observing him, would quickly look away at times. I don't know if that was because Smith then would look back at him. It was unclear. But again, both looking in each other's direction inside that courtroom.
Trump could face a maximum sentence of up to 55 years in prison if found guilty on all the charges he faced today.
Okay, so there's the arraignment. Only side story that I got from that is Trump is a little mad that the judge kept calling him Mr. Trump. President Trump.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how hard is it to say former President Trump? I blame the media because they play along with this crap. Right? Mm-hmm. If he was just a normal ex-president, I know that they normally say President Obama, President Bush, right? But they also say former when they talk about them on occasion.
Yeah.
Trump should always be former president because he insists on pretending like he's not. And then, like, part of his defense is going to be like, well, I thought I did win. As far as I know, I am the president, right? He's crazy people. But he's also on tape saying, I'm not the president.
I don't have the authority.
Yeah, he's like, why? Remember when they were talking about Congress defaulting on the debt? And they were like, well, why did you tell them to default on the debt? You didn't tell them to do that when you were president. Well, I was president then.
But we've always referred to, even now, people will say Mr. Biden or Mr. Obama, even while they were president. It's just a common thing. Like,
I
look,
agree, but he's disgraced the office. So it's like at that point you would press the point because he's saying that he's president. Like he's got like a fake Oval Office at a Mar-a-Lago. He's got to have a travelcade wherever he goes.
that would go away
Just
with one
because of that.
question. One question. If you are still president, how come you're running again? That's what I would literally ask him. If you're president right now, that means you couldn't run for another term.
Why are you going for your third?
You're not FDR.
Trump would never put himself in an audience where the ability of that question being asked to him would be asked to him. He would never.
And
do that.
And no reporter's ever going to ask it. I mean, it's just the simplest question in the world.
Remember last week when I showed the what's the governor of Florida? DeSantis. When he went to the wrong group and
yes,
and thought that he was that popular and how many people was going to vote for him, and out of the whole group, one person raised their hand. So no, people like DeSantis and Trump, they will never put themselves in a situation where any type of question of a pushback would happen.
Which is why I blame media people, because they pick and choose when they want to halfway do their job. And I say halfway because they just don't do the full job, right?
A long time.
It's too easy because Trump himself very rarely. I can't even think of a time that you can find where Trump on. I'm sorry.
I'll say hey,
Foxy. Hey, Foxy. I can't remember a time since he's lost that Trump said, "I am still president." What he has constantly said is they stole it.
Yes.
It was rigged. He said stuff like that. But I can't recall a time that he has asserted that he is still president, right?
It's been his supporters.
It's been all the people around him.
Yep.
That's
and then what's so funny to me is he himself has been very careful not to tell that particular lie so that his followers can believe the lie. So his followers believe this lie, but they believed it as truth. Then, now that he's been indicted this last time for these last four, all of a sudden, his followers' story changes to, what, you can't lie?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So either it was a lie back then, and you knew it was a lie, which makes you a liar, or it was a lie back then, you thought it was the truth, and now that you know that it was a lie, you're a liar.
But like, you're exercising too much logic. To the Trump supporters, it doesn't matter. When he said, I can shoot a person on Fifth Avenue and get away with it, he was not lying.
No.
He could literally shoot somebody, possibly kill them, and people, his supporters will still be like, well, the man had it coming.
Yep.
What?
And that's because of what I've said many times ago in the past. The thing about Trump is it's not about Trump. It's about what Trump represents for people. He's the vehicle that people are using, and he's almost irrelevant at this point. So he himself is like a small thing now, right? So that's why, okay, oh, you got Trump. Okay, well, it's okay for him to lie, ain't it? Because for them, it was never really about him. They're looking right past him, right? They're looking at, he's giving us empowerment. He is voicing our grievances. He hates who I hate. He's uncontrollable. He's all the rage I wish I could put out there, but I'm not allowed to because, I got a job or I got this or I got that. So he's their vehicle to let that stuff flow. So once you not lock him up, once you get him on any of the 78 charges that this fool has, then we'll see what happens.
Currently, we still got two more to go.
We've got Georgia, we've got New York, right?
Yeah, this dude has as many charges as he has years on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
He's not lying.
It's sad though when you get. I think I was talking to my sister about this, and I got my court cases confused. This is sad when a former president has so many indictments. You are literally getting them confused one with the. This is America. We got to do better. We got to do way
But
better than this. Come on, y'all.
we
Stop this.
we do and we don't, right? Because like I said, Obama. Okay, first I'm gonna start the Constitution. The Constitution has always been in conflict with the reality of the country, right? So the Constitution is an aspirational document. It's always we're making room for us to always improve, do better. That's why we have the ability to do amendments. That's why rights have been expanded. All these things. So it's aspirational. We're trying to get better. But the reality of America has always been very. I used to call them conservatives more, but now I call them regressives. Right? The regressives are out there, and they've always wanted to hold it as far back as they possibly could. That's the reality of America. Yeah. So Obama was like the Constitution. Obama was aspirational. People all around the country, people who have any number of views, they saw a handsome, beautiful family, well-spoken, highly educated, relatively benign. Like he's the magical Negro that America likes to hold up. And they were like, hey, I'm gonna vote for this guy. But it was all aspirational. Because as soon as they got him, the moment they got him, the racism came out. The bigotry started flowing heavier. Everything has been downhill since that man was elected president. And it's not his fault. It's because of what America is. And then when he was on his way out, what did they put in? The very opposite. Like,
yeah, because we're patting ourselves on the back. We did elect a black president. We're not. Look at us. Some of us voted for him. But this is sad. I'm literally sitting here confusing court cases because I thought that this was in connection to the case that's going on in Mar-a-Lago. Nope.
But what's really sad about that, Tracy?
It's sad.
What's really sad about that, though, is it is a fair conclusion to reach that this man has committed the crimes in which he stands accused. Okay? That's a fair interpretation if you're just looking at the law and his actions. Okay? But what makes this so messed up is because he broke so many laws, the fact that you're trying to hold him accountable looks like you're weaponizing something, right? It's like accountability to these people is punishment. And so they are looking at it and they're like, well, we can flip this, we can spin this, and we can just say it's being weaponized, when in fact, the man is just being held accountable for so many things that he did, right? So it feeds both sides of the narrative. It feeds our side that says, look at this criminal nut job, right? And then it feeds their side because it feeds their victim mentality. And then here's the thing about the media, and I drop it, that really upsets me. All of them do this, especially MSNBC, right? They get out there and they don't call things for what they are, right? Like they say Trump is the apparent nominee for the Republican Party, and he is now going to be going through all these court cases and blah, blah, blah. How can you do that? When the reality is he did not announce for president until after he was notified he was under investigation.
Yep. He sure did.
So they're not going after him because he's running. They're going after him because of what he did. And then he chose to run to try to get the heat off of him. But these news medias are real slow to point that little bit, it's a little thing.
They know it. It doesn't care. Trump, at the end of the day, Trump makes them money. They get more money from advertising. They get more eyes on
we talk about
and the Democratic Party makes money off of it.
Exactly, because now you got somebody to fundraise against. Don't let him go in because look at this.
We talked about that in the Messenger a while back when the first time when New York was going to indict them Tuesday, or now it's Tuesday. So when is the indictment coming down and everything else? And I said in the messenger, they're going to talk about this story all day long. And sure enough, they did. The only thing they changed was the people sitting at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the analyst. And the analyst was a former lawyer.
Breaking
and he was
news.
a former prosecutor. And this was a former DA. And this is an analyst from here. It was the same story, but you just changed people.
And you remember CNN and MSNBC were crying broke. They were crying broke the first 2 years of Biden's presidency, right? There was all kinds of turmoil everywhere. They were cutting off shows. They were changing out hosts. They were doing all this stuff because they couldn't make enough money. And then the moment he announced, all that went away.
They like,
because he makes money for everybody.
Everybody.